At 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, an HOA Karen made a $2.3 million mistake that would land her in federal prison for 8 years. And it all started with a pair of bolt cutters in the wrong military vehicle. The sound of those bolt cutters biting through my security chain echoed through perfect suburban silence like gunshots. That metallic snap was the moment Bethany Kensington Wright went from HOA president to federal felon in 30 seconds. See, while I was deployed overseas fighting drug cartels, this power-hungry suburban dictator decided my eyesore vehicle needed to disappear. What she didn't know, that Jeep belonged to a federal drug task force, was loaded with $347,000 worth of classified surveillance equipment, and I'm the kind of federal agent who specializes in taking down criminal organizations. She thought she was stealing some soldier's truck. She actually committed federal crimes that would make cartel bosses jealous. My name is Marcus "Tank" Rodriguez, and 3 months ago, I thought inheriting my grandmother's house would be a blessing. Boy, was I wrong. Willowbrook Estates, picture-perfect suburban hell where every house is the same shade of beige, and HOA dues of $150 a month translate to paying some power-hungry Karen to make your life miserable. I'm Army Reserve MP, recently accepted into a federal drug task force. Grandma Rose's house was supposed to be my safety net during deployment. That house still smells like her homemade tortillas, every creaky floorboard holding memories of her teaching me right from wrong. Mijo, you stand up to bullies, but you do it the right way. Enter Bethany Kensington Wright, picture a 52-year-old real estate agent who drives a white Lexus SUV and measures grass height with an actual ruler. 7 years as HOA president turned her into a suburban dictator. Her husband Carl sits on city council, making her feel untouchable. 2 weeks into my deployment, the email hit my inbox, violation notice. Unauthorized commercial vehicle storage. My government-issued Jeep Wrangler, clearly marked with federal law enforcement decals, was apparently an eyesore. Bethany's interpretation of HOA covenants, work vehicles prohibited in residential driveways. Here's what she didn't know, that Jeep contains $200,000 worth of surveillance equipment for active cartel investigations, GPS trackers, encrypted radios, covert cameras. Federal property that requires department authorization to relocate. The fine, $50 per day, accumulating while I'm dodging bullets overseas. My sister Maya, sweet middle school teacher Maya, tried reasoning with this suburban tyrant. She showed copies of my orders, even offered to cover the Jeep with a tarp. Rules are rules, Bethany snapped, looking down at Maya like she was a bug. If your brother cannot follow simple community standards, maybe this neighborhood isn't right for your family. Maya discovered the pattern. Every military family in Willowbrook was getting targeted, fabricated violations designed to force out service members. But here's the kicker, Maya found the actual HOA bylaws from 1987. Government vehicles were specifically exempted. Bethany was literally fabricating rules, counting on residents being too intimidated to check. Bethany's next move was pure suburban warfare. A registered letter demanding immediate vehicle removal within 24 hours, not 48. She was trying to steal federal property while I was deployed overseas. Maya called me from Grandma's kitchen, panic in her voice. Tank, there's a tow truck circling the block. The driver keeps looking at your Jeep like he's sizing it up. My counterpunch was swift, I contacted JAG military lawyers. Staff Sergeant Patricia Williams took one look at my case file, her expression shifting from professional interest to righteous fury. Rodriguez, this woman just threatened to steal federal law enforcement property. That's not an HOA violation, that's a federal felony. The Service Members Civil Relief Act specifically prohibits harassment of deployed service members' property. But more importantly, my Jeep isn't just my vehicle, it's federal law enforcement equipment owned by the United States government. Williams filed a formal complaint with Base Command, triggering a federal military liaison review. Suddenly, Bethany's power trip was on the radar of people with actual authority. Maya started digging through Grandma's old documents and found a smoking gun, a 2019 letter from Bethany. recommending against military housing assistance programs because transient military populations don't maintain long-term community investment standards. She'd been systematically targeting military families for years. Carl had development deals pending, luxury condos requiring HOA approval, and military families with their unsightly work vehicles hurt the exclusive community marketing angle. Maya reached out to other targeted families, accidentally building a federal discrimination case. Every fabricated violation, every threatening letter, every intimidation tactic was documented. But Bethany escalated again. She hired ExecSafe Security to patrol community standards compliance, 2 guards documenting my Jeep every hour like it was a terrorist threat. The real problem wasn't the guards, it was what they were telling neighbors. That military vehicles created security risks, that I was potentially dangerous. Maya called me in tears, "Tank, they're saying you're dangerous. Mrs. Patterson won't even make eye contact with me anymore." My counterpunch had to be surgical from 8,000 miles away. I contacted Captain Chen, explaining how private security was surveilling federal task force equipment. "This is tricky," she said. "If we come in too heavy, we validate their claims. We need them to hang themselves." I remotely accessed my Jeep security system. Federal task force vehicles have motion sensors, infrared cameras, GPS tracking, and automatic photography of anyone within 15 feet. The footage revealed something chilling. At 1:43 a.m., Bethany was using a flashlight to examine my Jeep's interior, photographing dashboard equipment, attempting to open doors. She wasn't just documenting violations, she was trying to access classified federal surveillance equipment. The guards were taking detailed photographs of federal communications equipment. This was potential espionage. Bethany's desperation reached critical mass when she hired Morrison & Associates PR firm to destroy Maya's career. Anonymous complaints flooded the school district, claiming Maya was radicalizing children with anti-government military propaganda. The smear campaign revealed systematic discrimination being exported nationwide. Bethany had coordinated with HOA boards in 3 states to develop model policies for managing military family disruptions. When organizations coordinate to violate citizens' constitutional rights across state lines, it becomes organized crime under RICO prosecution. But Bethany's fatal mistake came at 3:17 a.m. when Maya's infrared cameras caught her burning HOA financial records behind Grandma's tool shed. Maya discovered $184,000 in embezzled community funds diverted to Carl's development company through fabricated consulting contracts. Maya's security camera caught every federal crime in high definition. The sound I'll never forget: clang, clang, clang. Bolt cutters biting through my security chain. Maya's phone buzzing me awake in a deployment tent. "Tank. She's cutting your locks. She's got bolt cutters and a tow truck, and she's stealing your Jeep right now." Through Maya's phone camera, I watched Bethany commit multiple federal felonies in real time. Hair disheveled, still in her bathrobe, frantically directing Discount Dave's towing to load federal law enforcement property. The tow truck driver took one look at the federal task force decals and started backing away. "Lady, this is government property with federal markings. I ain't touching this. It's abandoned property." Bethany screamed. "I'm HOA president with legal authority to remove community violations." That statement, captured on 3 different security cameras, became Exhibit A in a federal theft case. My counterpunch was devastating. I contacted Captain Chen through emergency channels, triggering protocols for theft of federal law enforcement equipment. Within minutes, federal marshals were dispatched with lights and sirens. My Jeep's hidden GPS tracker and remote security systems documented everything automatically. The moment Bethany cut my lock, she triggered a federal alert system that pinged Homeland Security databases across 3 states. When the tow truck driver fled, Bethany changed the locks on the community gate, effectively imprisoning my federal vehicle and blocking law enforcement access. "If he wants his precious military truck back, he can follow proper HOA procedures," she shrieked at Maya. "Military service doesn't make him Above community standards. Mrs. Patterson witnessed Bethany's breakdown and called every neighbor, every veteran in Willowbrook. By 10 a.m., my grandmother's house was surrounded by protective neighbors forming a human shield around federal property. "This stops right here, right now," declared Tom Henderson, 72-year-old Vietnam vet. "You want that boy's vehicle, you go through 30 American veterans first." But when federal marshals arrived and discovered Bethany had locked the gate, preventing federal agents from accessing stolen government property, that became obstruction of federal justice. Marshal Jennifer Torres took one look at the locked gate. "Ma'am, you've obstructed federal agents investigating theft of government property. Open this gate immediately or face additional federal charges." Bethany's response sealed her fate. "I don't recognize federal authority over private HOA property. You people have no jurisdiction in my community." She just declared war on the United States government while standing in her bathrobe. Game over. I landed stateside 72 hours later to find Maya surrounded by enough evidence to topple a small government. But it was the contract between Kensington Urban Holdings and Eastbrook Development that changed everything. Carl's company had pre-sold 47 properties in Willowbrook for luxury condos, properties they didn't own yet, including Grandma's house. Every military family, every elderly resident was marked for acquisition facilitation. The HOA financial records revealed systematic embezzlement. The violation notices sent to dying Grandma during her final hospice weeks. They'd been destroying families for profit, disguised as community governance. Maya had evolved from scared teacher to strategic mastermind, coordinating between federal agents and community resistance. "Tank, this isn't about your Jeep anymore. This is about organized crime disguised as community governance." The Willowbrook Community Center had never seen anything like the packed hearing. Federal agents lined the walls, news cameras from 6 stations, military families from 3 states. Bethany arrived in her white Lexus to protesters holding signs reading "Military Families Matter" and "Prosecute HOA Terrorists." Maya took the podium, no longer the frightened teacher. "For 5 years, these people used their positions to wage war against military families, violating every principle this country stands for." Federal prosecutor Rebecca Martinez stepped forward. "The United States government has compiled overwhelming evidence of criminal conspiracy involving federal property theft, civil rights violations, witness intimidation, embezzlement, and obstruction of justice." When I approached the podium, the room fell silent. Bethany Wright thought she was cutting locks on some soldier's personal vehicle. What she actually did was interfere with an active federal drug operation, compromise classified surveillance equipment, and steal property belonging to the United States government. That Jeep contained surveillance equipment worth $347,000 and evidence from ongoing cartel investigations spanning 4 states. When she cut those locks at 6:47 a.m., she didn't just commit theft, she compromised national security operations. Federal Marshal Torres approached with handcuffs. "Bethany Kensington Wright, you're under arrest for theft of federal law enforcement property, conspiracy to violate civil rights, embezzlement of community funds, witness intimidation, and obstruction of federal justice." The sound of handcuffs clicking shut echoed through speakers as cameras captured suburban tyranny meeting federal consequences. 18 months later, Bethany received 8 years in federal prison with $647,000 in restitution. Carl got 6 years plus lifetime prohibition from public office. His development empire collapsed with $2.3 million in community settlements. Maya revolutionized HOA governance, implementing bylaws that became the national model for military family protection. The Veteran Memorial Park sits where Bethany's house once stood, seized through federal asset forfeiture. The Rodriguez Foundation for Military Family Rights helps families nationwide fight HOA discrimination. Congressional legislation now requires HOA financial transparency and protects military families from systematic harassment. Maya married Captain Chen's brother David, a Navy veteran. I found happiness with Elena Martinez, the federal prosecutor. Who built our case? We bought the house next to Grandma's, waking up every morning in the neighborhood we fought to protect. Mrs. Patterson, now 91, cuts ribbons at every community event. Your grandmother knew you'd do something special. She just didn't know you'd save the whole neighborhood. Every morning when I see Old Glory flying over houses where military families live without fear, I taste what victory means: justice served, community healed, and proof that bullies can be defeated when good people organize and fight back. Share your HOA nightmare story in the comments. The Rodriguez Foundation provides free legal assistance to military families fighting suburban discrimination. Subscribe for more stories about defeating corruption through community courage.